Hey there guys, I'm back to another game review. Today we're taking a look at Alan Wake Remastered on the PlayStation 5. Alan Wake 2 released this year with high praise from fans and critics alike. While I do want to check out its sequel, I have to play from where it all started. The 2010 action-adventure received a facelift in 2021, allowing Remedy to release it on PlayStation consoles and enhance the game for the current generation. I have always heard about Alan Wake, even back in 2010. After all these years, I never felt the need to play it until the sequel was coming out. I bought it on the PlayStation Store for $13 as the game is constantly on sale from its $30 price tag. Is Alan Wake Remastered worth checking out, or is it sadly a relic of its time? Let's find out.
Alan Wake originally came out in May 2010 exclusively on the Xbox 360. Microsoft held the Alan Wake license as they were the ones to publish the title. While Remedy wanted to continue Alan Wake, Microsoft thought a new direction would be better, which is where Quantum Break came in. Once Remedy purchased the Alan Wake rights in July 2019, this paved the way for not only Alan Wake 2, but also Alan Wake Remastered. This is an enhanced version of the 2010 game, better visuals and a higher frame rate. While I have not played the original, I can recognize the stark difference between both versions. Even though none of the gameplay changed, Alan Wake proves to be a timeless action-adventure title with horror elements. The story of Alan Wake follows Mr. Wake as he's struggling to write his next novel. He's a best-selling crime fiction author, and he's come to Bright Falls, Washington to hopefully clear his writer's block. As his time in Bright Falls continues, strange things start to happen. Weird and creepy figures start to appear in front of Alan before his wife, Alice, ultimately disappears. Alan has made it his mission to figure out what's happening and find Alice. At certain points of the story, I had a hard time figuring out what's real and what's not. Alan has a lot of hallucinations, and I couldn't tell if certain things were in his mind or actually happening. Not in a bad way by any means, as it kept me engaged with the story. Characters in the game also believe Alan was having a psychotic break before the shadowy figures start to twist Bright Falls even more. There's manuscript pages to find throughout your adventure which tell the player what's about to happen next. It's part of Alan's next novel, and yet he doesn't remember writing it. This is probably the best usage of a collectible I've ever seen, because you're really incentivized to find these pages to see what's going to happen next. It's somewhat creepy in a sense where the story is already written, but did Alan really write it? You can also find these TVs that play mini TV programs for the player to watch. They're really well made as a way to build out the mysterious world of Alan Wake. Alan as a character is your average guy trying to save his wife. Obviously he's a best-selling author, but he feels relatable enough for the player. He never does anything too outlandish and is reasonable in his line of thinking. I was enjoying myself discovering the Bright Falls mystery because Alan knew just as much as we do as the player. All in all, Alan Wake's story is great. It surprised me in many ways by its structure, the mystery elements, and the characters. Remedy really took their time to create a story that can be enjoyed for years to come. The gameplay of Alan Wake also surprised me. As you wander the darkness at night, shadowy figures start to appear to attack. You have to shine your light on enemies before you can shoot them. There's other guns and tools you can use as well, such as a shotgun and flash grenades. Many people compare Alan Wake to Luigi's Mansion with a gun, which I can see why. Shine your light on enemies before taking them out. The mechanics are not that bad either. Having one trigger shine your light while the other one shoots your gun. The flashlight doesn't last forever, so keep an eye on that meter before you have to use a battery. The gameplay loop is overall satisfying. It does get a little overwhelming later in the game when they throw too many enemies at you. There's no invincibility frames in between hits, so expect to get run over if you're not prepared. And the encounters aren't always the same. One encounter has you stall out enemies with only flares. Another encounter will have a bunch of enemies spawning at once. They might be similar from one another, but they need to be tackled with slightly different strategies. This is a linear experience, so exploration is not heavily emphasized. Follow the yellow marker to get to the next area. If you do explore a bit, you may find the manuscript pages, which are fully voice acted by the way, or you may find a thermos. Across all 6 episodes, there's 100 thermoses to find in total. They're hidden throughout your adventure, so keep an eye out for them as you move along. You may also find extra supplies that have a yellow marker as indicators. Moving from episode to episode, you'll lose most of your gear and have to find find them again. This is fine, as I did feel a little too prepared to take on the hordes of enemies at a certain point. And when you do resupply yourself, the game does a good job to make sure you're not underpowered for the fights ahead. Resources are limited, but as long as you're not using them wastefully, you should be able to get through Alan Wake just fine. In the dark, that's where the monsters come out, but in sections of light, you're safe and get a chance to replenish your health. You do regain health slowly, but it's not as fast as being under a streetlight. Alan Wake's gameplay is very enjoyable. If you've played any third-person action game, you should feel right at home here. Shining your light on enemies before shooting them never gets boring. Flash grenades and flares are great tools to use when you're getting overwhelmed. Supplies being somewhat limited makes the adventure feel more risky, like you have to keep in mind of what resources you're using as you play. It's not full-on survival horror, so don't hold on to those resources too closely. Still, Alan Wake Remastered is a fun time. Presentation-wise, it's 100% visually better than the Xbox 360 version. Enhanced textures and models makes Alan Wake look more in line with the current generation. It's not perfect and not visually the most beautiful game ever, but it looks pretty good for a 2010 remaster. The models and animations still have that 2010 jank, if you know what I'm saying. The 60 FPS is smooth and amazing. I'm glad Remedy got it to work on the PlayStation 5. Everything you could ask for in a current generation remaster is here for Alan Wake.
In conclusion, Alan Wake Remastered is pretty good. Lifting the 2010 action-adventure game for today's consoles was done expertly. The gameplay and story still hold up today. You will be surprised and at times confused at Alan Wake's story, but by the end of it, it should all make sense. The gameplay is timeless, as shining light on enemies before shooting them never gets old. The level design and how the episodes are structured all makes sense. I'm kind of amazed that Alan Wake was originally released in 2010 because it truly feels like a game that could have come out in the last 5 years. If you have 11 hours to spare and want to play a third-person action-adventure game, Alan Wake Remastered is right up your alley. It's always on sale, like right now. It's only $15 on the PlayStation Store as opposed to its $30 price tag. And yeah, I honestly cannot recommend Alan Wake Remastered enough. And that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys have not already, you can subscribe by putting new videos up on Saturdays. You can follow me on social media at TV Sonic Gaming. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everything at TV Sonic Gaming. And you can check out my podcast called The Travis and Damon Podcast. We talk about games, movies, and anime every other week. And yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching this video once again, and I'll see you guys next time with more videos.